Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Brandon McAfee, affectionately known as Maxwell's dad. And welcome to our story, where I share the story of Maxwell and I, and our adventures, our experiences. I share stories about our appointments, just our life. And so, again, welcome. I've been wanting to do uh, this, what I'm doing now for some time now. I've been thinking about it for years. Wasn't sure to do a podcast. Wasn't sure to do YouTube. About a year and a half ago, I started a Facebook page, Instagram page entitled Daddy and Super Mighty Max because I knew I wanted to share our experiences in terms of myself being an African American father to African American special needs child or differently abled child. And now my story, our story have shifted some in which Maxwell, who we call Super Mighty Max, now lives with me. So now I'm not only uh, a, uh, a father to a differently abled child, but I'm a single father to a differently abled child. And so again, I wanted to share our story. On this journey, you're going to hear our experiences. You're going to hear our story. You're going to hear the stories of others as we interview other parents who have children who are differently able, their experiences. We just want to share the stories of others. We want to share our stories. And so perhaps you're watching this and you want to share your story. You want to share the story of your child, the story. You want to share your experiences. I definitely invite you to reach out to me via Instagram, via Facebook, and we can get it started. But today, I want to share a little bit about our story. I won't go into detail. There will be another episode where I will be interviewed and I will share more in depth about our story as it relates to Super Mighty Max and I. But today, I just kind of want to share just a briefly about our last appointment. Maxwell had a series of appointments on last week, so I just want to share that. But I will just share some general information. So again, my name is Brandon McAfee. Maxwell and I, we live in the Baltimore region, Baltimore area. I'm a pastor, pastor St. John AME Church. Again, a father to Maxwell. Maxwell, who we call Super Mighty Max. Again, he lives with me. Maxwell is 9 years old. Has the most beautiful smile ever in the world. Was born in 2014, and he was born via he what kind of led to him having cerebral palsy is his mother had placenta abruption. So with the placenta abruption, we weren't sure how long he was without oxygen to his brain, but we knew he was without oxygen to his brain. He sustained brain damage. The technical term is HIE. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it because it's like his spot. It's a hard word to pronounce, but I'm sure parents, you might have some experience with this, and so you know how to pronounce the term. It's a tongue twister. It's hard to pronounce, but HIE. And when he was born, the doctors told us that the Maxwell, because he sustained brain damage to his brain, that he possibly could have some challenges. They warned us that the brain is a beautiful mechanism in which it can still develop and form, but because he had a TBI, traumatic brain injury, it was very possible that he would have some challenges as he got older. And it was about 15 months later when he was officially diagnosed with spastic quadriplegic cerebral palsy. And so again, on another episode, I will go into detail with that. But again, Maxwell is 9 years old, and he's been living with me full time since August of 2023. And so one of the things that I just want to share again is just our story, what it's like being a father and son, how we navigate insurance, how we navigate just the health field, how we navigate doctor's appointments, how we navigate private duty nurses, how we navigate school, how we navigate church, how we just navigate life together. On so many things, some of the experiences I want to give to Maxwell, I'm sure if you're watching this, perhaps you're a parent to a differently able child, some of the experiences that you want to provide for your child. And so you know the story, right? You know, you want to give your child the world. You want your child to, although they might have their challenges, you want to treat them like they are a neurotypical children. You don't want to sell them short of any experiences. So the same thing that I desire to do for Maxwell. And so again, it's sharing our story. And so today I just want to share our story from last week. So last week we had 2 doctor's appointments. We had 2 full days of doctor's appointments. At the first day, Maxwell went to he goes to Kennedy Krieger. That's one of the places that he attends to get his medical care, and it was a OT appointment. Now Maxwell again, Maxwell's 9 years old, and he's already going through puberty, y'all. They call it precocious puberty. I might be TMI, but it's called precocious puberty. Basically, he's going through puberty early. With that being said, Maxwell is growing. He's getting taller, and so his wheelchair, homeboy has been like, I mean, his legs have been hanging out of his wheelchair, and so it's definitely time for him to get some adjustments to his wheelchair. And so on that Wednesday, I went to Kennedy Krieger, got there about 10 o'clock. It was a long day because his physical therapy appointment is not till 3 o'clock. So we got there at 10 o'clock, and we were able to adjust his wheelchair. We lengthened his wheelchair, his footrest. So instead of his feet extending past the footrest, they can actually rest on the feet plates, or I think that's what they call it, the feet plates. And so, and one of his legs are longer than the other, and that's because of he's having some hip issues. And if you know anything about children with cerebral palsy, sometimes they do have hip issues because a lot of times they're in wheelchair and they're sitting a lot, and they're not weight bearing. Because they're not weight bearing, all kind of issues pop up, unfortunately. And so one of Maxwell's hips is out of place, and so his right leg extends a little longer than his left leg. And so again, we adjusted his wheelchair for length. We changed his headrest to be more in line with his body. Again, one of the things, Maxwell has scoliosis, which is a curvature of the spine. And so again, if you know anything, sometimes CP kids experience scoliosis. And so that's one of the things that he has. So it was definitely just a complete overhaul with his wheelchair. One of the things that we wanted to do is because his wheelchair still had room for him to grow, we wanted to try to salvage this wheelchair as much as possible so he can still grow into it. Because from my understanding, and perhaps somebody might know different in the comments, in the state of Maryland, you only can get a wheelchair about every 5 years. And so again, Maxwell's only 9, so we didn't want to get a new wheelchair right now, a totally new wheelchair, and risk, him growing, and we couldn't get another one until he was, I guess that would be 14 years old. So 14, 13, my math was off, right? So 14 years old. So we wanted as much as possible to salvage the wheelchair that he currently has, so he can grow and use it as much as possible, as long as possible, so that when he absolutely has to get a new wheelchair, we can do that. And again, he can grow into the new wheelchair. And so the rep from his wheelchair company was gracious enough to come to drive over to Maryland and to adjust it and fix it up for him, so that Maxwell can have a new wheelchair and get the best use out of the one that he currently has. So that was at 10 o'clock. That appointment lasted for about 2 hours. Then we had a 2-hour break. And then after that, he had physical therapy. Physical therapy started at 3. Now, one of the things that we first started working on when Maxwell started attending physical therapy was we were working on him sitting upright and him rolling. We want to get him to try to learn how to roll and get use of his body, and sitting upright, which takes a lot of core strength. Again, one of the challenges with children with CP is their lack of core strength. So we're trying to help Maxwell with sitting up, also with holding his head up by himself. So that takes great strength, great core strength to hold your head up. So we're doing some things with that. But now what we're working on is Maxwell in the stander. A stander is very helpful, again, because it helps him bear weight on his hips, him bear weight on his knees, him bear weight on his ankles. I had no idea how important it was, just walking and bearing weight, how helpful that was to our joints, to our bones, and how they develop. And again, because Maxwell, I've been in a wheelchair uh, basically since birth. Well, of course, he was in a stroller first in a car seat, but y'all know what I mean. But since he's been in a wheelchair, he hasn't really had the chance to bear weight, and so he was in a standard, of course, for early intervention and in his early years. But I'll be honest, with COVID, in 2020, COVID kind of set him back some. Didn't go through the therapies, wasn't in school, wasn't getting the kind of things that he needed. And so now we're trying to get him back in the standard. Trying to get him back to doing weight bearing activities. And so he's doing pretty good. One of the things about especially in the standard, we want to make sure that the child or the adult, I'm sure, but the child can tolerate it. And so we don't put him in a standard, out the gate for an hour. We gradually, in increments, put him in a standard. So, might be 5 minutes one day, then 10 minutes the next day, then 15 minutes. So I think this last visit, he might have been in the standard for like 25, 30 minutes. And let me tell you about Maxwell. I took some pictures. I don't know with what I'm using, we can post pictures. I'm not sure. But maybe I'll post it on Facebook. Or we took some pictures, and my man, like Maxwell, he can sleep through anything. Maxwell can sleep through a winter storm. I mean, Maxwell can sleep. He can sleep through anything except when he's supposed to sleep at night when I'm trying to get rest and he want to be up. And so in the standard, like Maxwell is Max. So I do want to show you all the pictures. I found out that we can show the pictures, and so here it is. Here are the pictures of Maxwell that I was referring to. So to kind of give y'all, so you see him in the wheelchair and he's asleep. Like Maxwell is knocked out. Again, I had to pick him up 4 and 5 times, put him in a chair, take him out the chair, put him in the chair, take him out the chair so they can adjust it. So we see how his legs were extending over the foot pedals, and we see him sleep. Now in the next picture, you will see a difference of Maxwell, where some adjustments have been made, and so you'll see that in a second. But again, and also he had like this little harness on, and we remove the harness because they just felt like it was in the way. So yeah, and so it was definitely a very productive appointment. You see here that his feet now are more comfortable. You see that right leg is a little longer, again, because of his hip than the left leg. But you see him sitting more comfortable. The harness is no longer there. You can see in the picture. But again, it's just a much more comfortable seat for him. And so, I'm grateful for the occupational therapist and the rep from the wheelchair company. And so again, so that was that Wednesday. And again, him in a standard, as I was mentioning, him in a standard, how he can sleep through anything. Again, in this picture, Maxwell is actually not sleeping a standard. He's actually up. So I caught him good, but he's standing up. And again, this helps with the joints and weight bearing. Try to help his hips and just gotta help him overall. Perhaps you all have standards that your children use. One of the things is hard to see in this picture, but because Maxwell, again, he has what's called he has high tone. And a lot of times for persons who don't have differently able children or children with CP, high tone, a lot of times he's stiff because his muscles are always firing. It's actually called, and let's leave this picture up. It's actually, I think the technical term is part of it is Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, and a part of that's not only seizures, but it's also like stiffening in the tone. And so Nonetheless, again, Maxwell has very high tone. So one of the things, his feet a lot of times are always while foot should be like this and rest, Maxwell's feet, his ankles are always kind of like extended. And so um, again, another podcast for another day. But one of the things that the doctor wants to do is kind of loosen those muscles, kind of surgically. So we have less stiffness in his ankles, and he can kind of have more range of motion. But in the meantime, because we don't want to hurt him, they put some wood blocks under his feet, so that he can have a better better stand, for lack of better words. And so it was like this, and they put his feet kind of pointed, so they put some wood blocks so he can have a better stand. And so that's him in a stander. Again, he goes every Wednesday, and it's going well for him. He's tolerating it, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful that he's getting the therapies that he needs. I'm really grateful that he's with me so he can receive the therapies that he needs. One of the things that living in the Baltimore area, and the reality is in most major cities, they have a lot of children's hospitals. They have a lot of services, a lot of specialists. Even when we lived in Hampton Roads, they had Kennedy, they had CHKD, Children's Hospital, the King's Daughters, but they didn't have the kind of services that he receives here in Baltimore. He has Hopkins right there. His neurologist is one of the, a world-renowned, like, acute neurologist. He has, they have a CP clinic at Kennedy Krieger. They have just a lot of different things, resources there. And so I'm just really grateful for the services that he's receiving. So that was Wednesday. So on Thursday, he had another appointment. Look, I was trying, and I'm sure y'all know how it is. Our kids have all these appointments, and we try our best to try to lump them in on one day, but sometimes it's just not possible. And so on Thursday, we go to his next appointment, and Thursday, and I remember when we set it up for him, I was like, "Oh, what's this appointment?" It's called, and let me see if I can find it on my paper. He went to the what's it called? Y'all give me 1 second. A bone health evaluation. He had a bone health evaluation. It was like a DEXA scan. Perhaps you all have heard of this. Put the picture of just the scan machine. He had a well, that's Maxwell in the machine, and so we leave that up for a while. So that's Maxwell in this machine, and it was a brother who was running it. He said he's been doing it for like 15 years. Real cool guy. And he assured me that it has very little radiation because I hadn't had enough X-rays, and so what this machine does is measures Maxwell's bone density, or measure a person's bone density. So one of the things that the guy was telling me is that people come from all over to get use of this machine, and so he measured Max. They did like a full body scan. They did an arm scan, right arm scan, left arm scan, leg scan, hip scan, like everything. They scanned his whole body, and they scanned a certain parts of his body again to measure his bone density again, because CP children, because of just the lack of standing and the lack of use, sometimes it wears on your bone density. So unfortunately, there's some markers where it's shown that Maxwell has some osteoporosis. A lot of times, you will see that as you get older, especially women tend to get osteoporosis. I think like in their 60s, mid to late 60s, and men tend to get it in their 70s. Don't quote me, I'm not a doctor. But again, because Maxwell has CP, there's some things going on, he's at risk for osteoporosis a little earlier, and so they want to get a baseline of what his bone density was, and his doctor referred him to that, and so that was really good. Again, the DEXA scan revealed osteoporosis in multiple areas. I'm reading kind of the notes from the doctor, and we can take the picture down. And so after he had the bone scan, um, the his the NP, the nurse practitioner, came in to read the scan and meet with us. And I ain't gonna lie, y'all, I was kind of surprised because I didn't know what to expect. Just in general, um, all of Maxwell's providers thus far um have been, yeah, no black folk, a few brown folk, but no black folk, maybe one brown guy. And so, when a sister walked in, I was like, oh, okay, Maxwell got a sister walking in. I'm like, okay, go ahead, sister. And so she came in, very, very, very kind lady. Very knowledgeable, very smart, and just kind of explained everything to us in terms of, and when I say to us, to Maxwell, well, yeah, Maxwell, I mean, I'm sure he was paying attention, right? And the nurse and myself, and just was talking about, looking through the scan and what the scan revealed, and how there's less bone density in certain areas and more bone density in other areas. Talked about osteoporosis. One of the things that she shared with me is from a previous test, like a year ago. It showed that Maxwell has some low vitamin D, and so part of having strong bones is having good vitamin D levels. And so he had low vitamin D levels back in like January 2023. One of the things we did to try to help with that was they prescribed him a vitamin D. So he was on a vitamin D supplementation for about like once a week. But when he moved here, the doctors felt as if his current diet, he was getting enough vitamin D in his diet. And so right now he's not on vitamin D, but we're going to go back to get some lab work done to kind of see again where his levels are, to see if we need to add more vitamin D to his diet so we can try to strengthen his bones. Another thing the doctor was telling us is that, again, puberty can help promote bone health. So with him going through puberty, our prayer and our hope is that that will promote some bone health. If he needs vitamin D, again, our prayer is that will promote some bone health. So we just kind of want to do all that we can to try to help Maxwell, because weak bones, it's easier to have fractures and so on and so forth. One of the good things that we notice is that he hasn't had any fractures, and so that's a positive, that's a plus. He hasn't had any fractures, anything like that, and that he's doing well. And so that was that. While we were in the appointment, and this was dope. While we were in the appointment, I'm not sure if other hospitals offer this, but while in the appointment, another doctor, was it a doctor? I'm looking at my notes. Give me 1 second, y'all. Another, I don't know if she was a doctor or a nurse, but another medical professional came in, and she discussed with me about genetic testing. And so what she was sharing with me is that there's some genetic tests that they can run now on Maxwell, and it's just like a swab. And they can, through that genetic testing, they can see if there's something in his DNA that predisposed him to CP. If there's something in his DNA, whether, look, I'm not even going to try to be, a doctor and break it down, but there's a way they can look at his DNA through the genetic test to see if there was something that had him, that made him, that predisposed him to, his current condition, having cerebral palsy, or if it was just, the result of the placental abruption. And one of the things is, if there was something, let's say there was something in his DNA that showed up, and then they would, look at us, the father, and look at his mother to see if there's something in our DNA, some kind of markers or something that might predispose us, in case we want to have further children. My desire is to have, prayerfully more children in the future. And so that's something, that I want to know. Is there something, that I need to be concerned about or not? And so I'm really kind of looking forward to kind of see what that will reveal. From my understanding, they're going to send like a kit home, do a quick swab, send it back in, send it out, and I guess in a few weeks that they will show us what showed up. And so again, but having the resources, I've been at a good hospital. I have all these different tests available just to try to get as much information and provide Maxwell with as many wraparound services as possible. And so that was last week. This week, it's kind of slowed down. We don't have as many appointments this week. Praise God, just has his therapy appointment coming up. He has one of the things that we're talking about is because, again, Maxwell's tone, we're talking about the possibilities of a baclofen pump. I'm not really sure about that. A baclofen pump, if anybody knows, is they actually like implanted, I guess, in your body, I think in like the back or somewhere. It's a consult, and it releases, I guess, baclofen, which helps him to have kind of normal tone. Right now, he's on diazepam or Valium to kind of manage his tone, but the baclofen would do that. And so one of the things that the consultation would do is just share with us, I guess, the positives, the negatives of the pump, what it actually is, and just everything. And so really interested in education. If you are watching this and perhaps your child has a baclofen pump or you're exploring it, I invite you to, put it in the comments, reach out to me, kind of let me know what your experiences have been, positive or negative. And then again, because of his scoliosis, we have an appointment coming up with that. We want to talk to a specialist orthopedic about what we can do to address the scoliosis. His doctor, against multidisciplinary doctor, will have a follow-up with him. So just kind of a few appointments coming up, really just, again, to make sure Maxwell's good. So again, he's seen by Kennedy Krieger. If you're watching this, if you're in the Maryland area, if you're not outside the Maryland area, if you're not familiar with Kennedy Krieger, definitely look them up. They have a lot of services, a lot of things that they offer for children and adults, especially like with wheelchair, people trying to walk again, different physical therapy intervention. So it's a really good clinic, good people over there. He's followed again at Johns Hopkins, and so really just blessed for the care that my son is receiving thus far. And so that's today. That was last week, and this is today. And so if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out. Again, I just want to use this platform to share our experiences, to share to share our journey, the things that we go through, the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the peaks, the valleys, so on and so forth. To share our story, to share the story of Maxwell's dad and Super Mighty Max. It's our story, right? And it's a blessed story. God has truly blessed us. God has truly just been looking out for us, taking care of us, and so I'm truly grateful. And again, I just want to share our story with you all, with the world. As I prepare to leave, one thing I'm just excited about as that's coming up is Maxwell has not been to Sunday service at church, a Sunday service, and man, I don't know, it's been months. It's been months because again, Maxwell he has respiratory issues and sometimes he gets sick very quickly. And so just try to, especially during the cold and flu season, I try to watch out for him and just be very mindful of his interactions. But this Sunday is Palm Sunday, and he won't be with me on Easter. He'll be with his mother for Easter, but he will be with me for Palm Sunday. And so I want to bring Maxwell to church back on Palm Sunday. And so this Sunday, I'm excited that Maxwell will be back in worship, will be back in church this coming Sunday. Again, I'm super excited. So y'all just keep us in prayer. Y'all keep us in prayer that everything goes well, that God covers him, God keeps him, God protects him, and that we just have a good Sunday. And so I'm thankful for that. So again, thank y'all for tuning in to our story. Keep watching as we again bring not only our story, the stories of others, as we bring our experiences, bring any tips, advice, as we bring it all. This is our story. Daddy Super Mighty Max.